say QTP test process. See, in software test process, manual test process, four stages of life cycle we discussed already. First one, test planning, full form of that phase, planning and control. Second one, test design. Third one, test execution. Last one, test closure. But in QTP test process, 6 phases. See, in manual test process, 4 phases. In QTP test process, 6 phases. First phase or stage, planning. See, what are the important things in this planning stage? See, first phase, planning. What are the important things in this planning phase? See, initial task, get technology or environment details, application environment, get environment details from development team. Get application environment details from development team. Why application environment details? Here, what are the important details? UI design technology, UI design, user interface design technology, and database. These two are important. Forget about remaining things. What is web server, what is application server, etc. User interface design technology and database information is important. First task in this planning stage, get application environment details from development team. Why? Suppose if it is manual testing, you no need to get application environment details. If you know the application environment details, that is added advantage, that is useful. But in automation, application environment details is mandatory. Why? See, automation tools support based on add-ins, technology compatible files. You know, if you want to test Java application, Java add-in required. If you want to test SAP application, SAP add-in required. Manual testing not like that. Irrespective of the application, you can apply test methodologies. If it is Java application or .NET application, irrespective of the technology, you can apply your test cases. But here in test automation, you need to select add-ins, appropriate add-ins first. If it is Java application, Java add-in required. SAP application, SAP add-in required. PeopleSoft application, PeopleSoft add-in required. In order to select appropriate add-ins, environment details required. Getting this point, Soumya? Understand the concept? Why we need to get environment details? You tell me, Srikanth, why we need to get environment details? Good. See, in order to select appropriate add-ins, first we need to get application environment details from development team. Next, analyze the AUT. Next task, say anyhow it is a roadmap for the program. Here I am just indexing the concepts. Later we will discuss each and every concept in detailed manner. This is only roadmap for the program, roadmap. Here I am just providing brief introduction. Later we will in future classes we will discuss each and every concept in detailed manner. This is just a roadmap only. See, analyze the AUT. Analyze the AUT. AUT means application under test. Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Say, major challenge in functional test automation. Not only in QTP tool, you take any tool, RFT, Silk Test, Selenium. Major challenge is object identification. If tool identifies all of our application front end objects, then writing scripts is very easy. Major challenge in functional test automation is object identification. See, analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. See, in automation framework design and implementation chapter we will discuss how to analyze. Suppose if QTP is not recognizing some of our application objects, then what are the solutions, etc. Just I will give brief idea how to analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Three possibilities are there. First possibility, by record and playback some end-to-end scenarios. You record some navigations, just record, no need to insert verification points, etc. You just record plain navigations and playback. If QTP is playing back properly, then you can easily identify tool is recognizing all of our application objects. If any problems in playback, means execution, so you can identify QTP is not recognizing some objects. Like by record and playback some navigations, by record and playback some end-to-end scenarios, we can analyze. That is one possibility. Second possibility, using object spy. Object spy is handy feature of QTP tool. Handy feature of QTP tool. It gets objects information. Objects information in the sense properties and values and applicable methods on that object. Yesterday I introduced object spy. Using object spy we can get objects information. Next one, using view options in object repository. Two view options available in object repository. One is highlight in application, another is locate in repository. What is the purpose of view options? Using view options we can map objects in between object repository and application under test. We can map objects in between object repository and application under test using view options. See, these three possibilities available. Best method is recording. Record and playback some navigations. Now tell me, Soumya, how to analyze the AUT in terms of object identification? Object spy. Yes. Good. Record and playback is best method. Record and playback is best method. Okay. See, analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. Next one, after analyzing, select areas, select areas or test cases for automation. Test, select areas or test cases for automation. See here in this area, no restrictions and no recommendations from vendor side also. No restrictions, no limitations, but generally we select three common areas. We select three common areas. What are the common areas? Tests that we have to execute on every build. Tests that we have to execute on every build. Example, sanity tests. Say every time execution, automation is better. Second one, tests that we have to execute on every modified build. Regression tests. Third one, tests that we have to execute with multiple sets of test data. Data driven tests. See, these three areas are common for test automation, but no restrictions, no limitations, and no recommendations from vendor side. See once again, selecting areas or test cases for automation. Generally, we select three common areas. First area, tests that we have to execute on every build. Sanity tests. You know what is sanity testing? Verifying whether the build is acceptable or not by executing basic functionality tests. Next, second area, tests that we have to execute on every modified build. Regression tests. See, sanity tests, static means fixed, constant, fixed. See, most of the time sanity tests fixed, but regression tests dynamic. Depends on strength of development team and complexity of the application. Anyhow, multiple times execution, automation is better. Next, third area, tests that we have to executing with multiple sets of test data. Data driven tests. We already discussed why data driven testing, for positive and negative testing. Okay, these are the three common areas. Tell me, Srikanth, what are the three common areas that we select for automation?
First one is tests that we have to execute on every build. This is sanity testing. And the second one is tests that we have to execute on every modification of build. This is regression testing. And the third one is the tests that we have to execute with the multiple sets of tests data. This is data driven testing.
Good, good. And one more thing, when to start test automation process? When to start test automation process? Say, this is common interview question. When you start test automation process? No restrictions, no limitations. Depends. Say, I will explain three scenarios, concentrate. See, some companies start test automation process at beginning of the project for complete testing, means sanity, comprehensive regression testing. First they divide manual test cases and automated tests. From beginning they automate. Some companies start test automation process at middle of the project. Middle means after completion of comprehensive testing. After completion of first cycle of test execution, see, suppose we prepared 1000 test cases. See, execute all possible cases manually. After first cycle of execution, some companies plan for automation. Their purpose is only re and regression testing. Only for regression testing some companies use automation tools. Next, some companies start test automation process at the end of the project. Why end of the project? Say some financial critical projects are there. Sometimes customer won't accept automation at beginning or middle of the project. Customer asks, see, complete release manual, complete release, you use manual testing. Take more manpower, time, test manually. After first release you can use tool. After software release, why automation? For maintenance. Say some companies maintenance contracts 5 years, 7 years, 10 years like. See, maintenance time, in order to process customer requests quickly, you can use automation. So no restrictions, no limitations. Depends on project, depends on customer interests, we start test automation. Some companies plan test automation, some companies plan test automation process at beginning of the project, some companies at middle of the project, some companies at end of the project after first release for maintenance. So depend on your project, even you can explain. No restrictions, no limitations. Interviewer also cannot argue that. Why? No universal process. Depends. Got the point, Soumya? Understand the concept?
Yes.
When to start test automation process?
It depends on the
Yes,
project.
yes, depends on the project and customer interest also, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Let's move to next topic. Tool settings. One more planning activity. Tool settings, configuration, tool settings, configuration and globalize. Tool settings, configuration and globalize. Tool settings, configuration and globalize. Say, already we discussed, you take any software, you can find two types of features. One is constant features, another is configurable features. Constant features that we have to use as it is. Configurable features, According to our needs, we can customize those features. In QTP tool also, you can find these two types of features: constant features, configurable features. Examples for constant features in QTP: UFT, new name of QTP tool, Unified Functional Testing, formerly QTP, now no QTP name. After 6 months, no QTP, UFT only, Unified Functional Testing. Okay. Examples for constant features: recording is constant feature, data table is constant feature, object repository, object spy, step generator, all these are constant features. Next, configurable features. Examples for configurable features. Yesterday we discussed that concept. Can you give examples, Soumya? Examples for configurable features. Okay. Object identification configuration, virtual object configuration, tool options configuration, test settings configuration, etc. Say, according to our project, we need to configure tool settings. According to our project, we need to configure tool settings. See, important areas: object identification configuration, test settings configuration, tool options configuration, virtual object configuration, etc. Okay, configuration okay, tool settings configuration okay, according to our project we can configure. What is this globalize? Globalizing tool features. What is globalizing tool settings? Tool settings configuration okay. What is globalizing tool settings? Globalizing tool settings means providing common configuration for all missions. Providing common configuration for all missions. Why globalizing? Already we discussed. QTP is not a client server application. It is one tier application, standalone application, desktop application. It is standalone application. It doesn't have any database. It doesn't have client server architecture. Suppose we 4 or 5 members working for a project. We 4 or 5 members working for a project using 4 or 5 missions. As a team lead or test lead, if I configure settings in my mission, how can all team members can get same configuration? It is not client server application. If it is client server application, if you perform settings at server and all clients can get same settings. But it is standalone application. Yes. Since it is standalone application, we need to globalize the tool settings, means providing common configuration for all missions. No problem. To do that, QTP has provided one special feature. That feature is called generate script, that we will discuss in administration chapter. Using that generate script feature, we can globalize tool settings. Getting the concept, Srikant? Tool settings configuration and globalize. Why globalizing tool settings?
Because it's a one-tier application and no common server being associated, we have to globalize and
One.
we have to using the globalization way, all the settings, all the machines needs to have the same settings.
Yes. See, in order to provide common configuration for all missions, we need to globalize tool settings. For that, QTP has provided special feature called generate script feature. Using that feature, we can globalize. That we will discuss in QTP administration chapter. Just remember, tool settings, configuration and globalize also one of the important task in planning stage. See, these four are the mandatory tasks in planning stage, but one optional task also there. Optional but important nowadays, very important, that is automation framework design and implementation. See, design is company level, implementation is project level. You no need to design every time. If you design framework structure once, that can be applied for multiple projects. See, automation framework design not every time, that is company level. Automation framework implementation, this is project level. It is optional but important. Say anyhow, this automation framework implementation, this chapter takes nearly 6 to 7 hours. In that chapter we will discuss keyword driven framework, next data driven hybrid framework, etc. using a Windows based application and a web based application. It takes nearly 6 to 7 hours. In that chapter we will discuss theoretical concepts as well as practical concepts. Just remember, just know the definition. What is automation framework? See, automation framework, it is a systematic approach to automate software test process. It is a systematic approach to automate software test process. See, without automation framework also we can automate our software test process. Without framework also we can create and execute tests. That's why I already mentioned it is optional but important. Systematic approach nowadays is mandatory. Nowadays is very important. But without automation framework also we can create and execute tests. What is automation framework? Tell me, Soumya, what is automation framework?
Systematic approach to automate the software test process.
Yes, it is a systematic approach to automate software test process. See, these are the important tasks in first phase of QTP test process planning. See, 5 important tasks in planning stage or phase. What are the 5? First one, get application environment details from development team. Application environment details, not all details. Complete application environment details not required. If you know the complete environment details, added advantage, better, no problem. But important things are user interface design technology, next database. Why we need to get this environment, application environment details? See, functional automation tools are object based test tools. Based on front end objects, they perform test operations, but some exceptions are there. For database testing, no front end object reference required. QTP has an integrated SQL engine. Using integrated SQL engine, QTP can communicate with databases. But database information also required. This is first task. Second task, analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. See, major challenge in functional test automation, object identification. So analyze the AUT. AUT means application under test. Analyze the AUT in terms of object identification. For that, three methods I explained. One is by record and playback some end-to-end scenarios. Second one, using object spy. Third one, using view options in object repository. See, using view options we can map objects in between object repository and application under test. Mapping objects in between object repository and application under test. Next, third important task, select areas or test cases for automation. Here already we discussed no restrictions, no limitations, but three common areas generally we select for automation. First area, tests that we have to select, tests that we have to execute on every build. Example, sanity tests. Second area, tests that we have to execute on every modified build. Example, regression tests. Third area, tests that we have to execute with multiple sets of test data. Example, data driven tests. Next important task, tool settings configuration and globalize. Last one, that is optional but nowadays important, automation framework design and implementation. Automation framework design and implementation. Okay. Next, come to next stage. Second stage of QTP test process, generating basic tests. Say in manual testing, test design only one stage, but here in automation, test design divided into two sub stages. One is generating basic tests. Next, enhancing tests. Generating basic tests, enhancing tests. What is the difference between these two stages? Generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means inserting verification points. Next, error handling, adding comments, parameterizing tests if required, synchronization if required, etc. See, generating basic tests means creating plain navigation. Enhancing tests means based on requirements, inserting verification points, adding comments, providing error handling statements, parameterization if required, synchronization if required, etc. See, generating basic tests is simple task, enhancing tests is difficult task, intelligent task. Okay. First, generating basic tests. Do you have any idea, Srikanth, how to generate tests in QTP? How we no idea. Okay. At least single method. Okay. Okay, cool. See, generating basic tests. Concentrate. See, in high level orientation, we have two methods for generating tests. In high level orientation, we have two methods for generating basic tests. 1 minute, I will be back.